I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to episode 78 of the Peak Performance Podcast. In this episode, we dive deep into the world of powerlifting and strongman competitions, exploring the precise methods these elite athletes use to develop extraordinary strength and prepare for competition. Whether you're an aspiring competitive lifter or simply want to integrate proven strength-building strategies into your training, this episode will provide you with actionable insights drawn from the practices of the world's strongest athletes. Understanding the strength sports landscape. Before we explore training methods, it's essential to understand what separates powerlifting from strongman competitions. Powerlifting focuses on three core lifts: the squat, bench press, and deadlift. Athletes have 3 attempts at each lift, with their best successful attempt counting toward their total. The goal is simple, yet brutally challenging. Lift the maximum weight possible in these 3 movements while adhering to strict technical standards. For instance, in the squat, athletes must hit a specific depth, crease of the hip below the top of the knee, and await squat and rack commands. The bench press requires a clear pause on the chest and a full lockout followed by press and rack commands, while the deadlift demands a smooth lift to lockout with no downward motion until the down command. These stringent rules, enforced by a panel of 3 judges who award white or red lights for successful or failed lifts, ensure fairness and standardized performance across various federations such as the IPF, USAPL, or WRPF. Athletes compete within specific weight classes to ensure equitable competition, progressing through local, national, and international stages. Strongman competitions, by contrast, test strength through a diverse array of events that often mimic real-world feats of power. Athletes might flip massive tires, typically weighing 500 to 1,000 plus pounds, requiring explosive hip drive and a unique technical approach for multiple repetitions. They might carry Atlas stones ranging from 200 to 500 plus pounds, lifting them from the ground and loading them onto platforms of varying heights, demanding immense grip strength and full body coordination. Other iconic events include pulling trucks or airplanes with a harness, pressing overhead logs of various weights, which requires a clean and press technique similar to Olympic weightlifting but with an awkward, thick implement. Or carrying heavy objects like the farmer's walk, carrying heavy implements in each hand for distance, or the yoke carry, a heavy frame carried across the shoulders for distance. The unpredictable nature and varied implements in strongman demand not only raw strength, but also explosive power, cardiovascular endurance, dynamic stability, and the ability to move awkwardly shaped objects under duress. The physical demands vary significantly between the two. Powerlifting cultivates a type of maximal, controlled strength, emphasizing precise motor patterns and the ability to recruit muscle fibers for a single heavy effort. It often leads to a more specialized physique, focusing on the prime movers for the 3 lifts. Strongman, however, requires a more generalized functional strength. Athletes develop incredible grip strength, core stability, and mental fortitude to withstand sustained, painful efforts. Their training often involves a broader range of movements and conditioning to prepare for the diverse demands of competition, leading to a more robust, powerful physique that can adapt to any challenge. Both sports also demand intense mental preparation. Powerlifters must maintain laser focus for brief, maximal lifts, managing anxiety and channeling aggression, while strongmen need exceptional grit, resilience, and pain tolerance to push through grueling, multi-event challenges. Both disciplines require years of dedicated training, intelligent programming, and an understanding of how the body adapts to progressively increasing loads. The progression timeline in powerlifting typically involves meticulous tracking of 1-rep maxes, volume accumulation, and deload phases, often spanning 5 to 10 years to reach elite levels. Strongman training is similarly long-term, integrating general physical preparedness to GPP with highly specific event training, often cycling through different events depending on the upcoming competition. Athletes in both sports learn the art of balancing intensity with recovery, pushing their limits while avoiding the career-ending injuries that can result from reckless training. The communities around these sports are deeply passionate. Powerlifting prides itself on a supportive environment where athletes often cheer for their competitors to achieve personal bests, fostering a culture of mutual respect and shared struggle. Strongman, while also competitive, is known for its camaraderie, with athletes often traveling together and sharing advice and equipment, forming tight-knit bonds forged through shared suffering. What can everyday athletes and general fitness enthusiasts learn from their approach? More than you might think. From powerlifting, one can adopt principles of progressive overload for consistent strength gains, the importance of proper form to prevent injury, and the mental discipline required to commit to long-term goals. Strongman offers insights into developing functional strength that translates to real-world tasks, improving cardiovascular conditioning through intense event training, and cultivating an unparalleled level of mental toughness and resilience. Both sports underscore the value of understanding your body, listening to its signals for recovery, and finding a supportive community to push you toward your maximum potential, whether your goal is competitive or simply to be the strongest version of yourself. The periodization principle. The foundation of both powerlifting and strongman training, and indeed all elite athletic preparation, is periodization, the systematic long-term planning of training phases to optimize performance, manage fatigue, and achieve peak physical condition at specific times, typically for competitions. Elite strength athletes don't train at maximum intensity year-round. Such an approach would inevitably lead to burnout, overtraining, and increased injury risk. Instead, they meticulously structure their training into distinct phases, each with specific physiological objectives that build upon one another, ensuring progressive adaptation and readiness for competition. A comprehensively periodized plan systematically manipulates key training variables: volume, total amount of work, intensity load, lifted relative to maximum, and frequency, how often a muscle group or lift is trained. While specific models vary, a typical macro cycle, a full training year, often includes a progression through several key mesocycles, blocks of 4 to 12 weeks, hypertrophy phase, general physical preparedness, GPP. This initial phase, often lasting 4 to 8 weeks, focuses on building foundational muscle mass and improving work capacity. Training is characterized by higher volume, e.g., 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, at moderate intensities, 60 to 80% of 1 rep max or 1 RM. Exercise selection is broad, targeting overall muscle development and addressing any muscular imbalances. Frequency might be 2 to 3 times per muscle group per week. The goal here is to create a robust muscular base that can later be leveraged for increased strength. Strength phase, specific physical preparedness, SPP. Following hypertrophy, this phase shifts focus to increasing maximal strength, typically lasting another 4 to 8 weeks. Intensity increases significantly, 75 to 90% 1 RM, while volume is reduced, e.g., 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 6 repetitions. The emphasis is on neural adaptations, improving motor unit recruitment, inter and intramuscular coordination, and lifting heavier weights. Exercise selection becomes more specific to the competition lifts: squat, bench, deadlift for powerlifters, or specific strongman events. Power phase, pre-competition. For some athletes, particularly strong men or those needing explosive strength, a power phase of 2 to 4 weeks might be incorporated. This involves training with moderate loads, 50 to 75% 1 RM, but with maximal speed and intent, e.g. 1 to 5 repetitions. Plyometrics, jump training, and variations of Olympic lifts or dynamic strongman events are common to enhance rate of force development. Peaking phase, competition specific. This crucial final phase, typically 1 to 3 weeks leading up to competition, involves a dramatic reduction in training volume, tapering while maintaining or slightly increasing intensity, 85 to 100% 1 RM, with very low repetitions, 1 to 3 reps. The goal is to maximize recovery, reduce accumulated fatigue, and express maximal strength on the platform. Training is highly specific, focusing almost exclusively on the competition lifts with minimal accessory work. The body is rested and primed for peak performance. Between or at strategic points within these mesocycles, athletes incorporate deload weeks, periods of intentionally reduced training stress. These typically occur every 4 to 6 weeks or whenever significant accumulated fatigue or performance plateaus are observed. A deload can involve reducing volume by 50 to 70%, e.g., fewer sets, reps, reducing intensity, e.g., 60 to 70% 1 RM, or a combination of both. The critical purpose of deloads is to facilitate supercompensation, allowing the body to recover, adapt, and consolidate previous gains without the constant stress of heavy training. They prevent physical and mental burnout, reduce the risk of injury, and ensure continued progress. Various periodization models exist to structure these phases. Linear periodization involves a gradual progression from high volume / low intensity to low volume / high intensity over the macrocycle. Undulating periodization, daily or weekly, varies volume and intensity more frequently, often on a daily or weekly basis, preventing staleness. Block periodization focuses on developing one specific quality, e.g., hypertrophy, strength, per dedicated block with less emphasis on others often preferred by advanced athletes. Athletes transition between phases by progressively adjusting loads, repetitions, and exercise selection, closely monitoring their fatigue levels using tools like RPE, rate of perceived exertion, RIR, reps in reserve, or objective measures like sleep quality, mood, and performance metrics. Knowing when to progress or deload is key to avoiding overreaching and ensuring sustainable gains. The scientific rationale behind periodization lies in the body's general adaptation syndrome, GAS. When exposed to stress, training, the body goes through an alarm phase, an adaptation phase, and potentially an exhaustion phase if stress is too prolonged or intense. Periodization strategically manages these stress cycles, allowing for optimal adaptation, supercompensation, and avoiding exhaustion. It accounts for the body's finite adaptive resources, ensuring that specific physiological qualities are developed at the most opportune times. Random training, conversely, rarely provides the structured progressive overload and recovery necessary for long-term predictable improvements, often leading to plateaus or injury. For non-competitive lifters and general fitness enthusiasts, periodization offers similar profound benefits: consistent progress, reduced injury risk, and sustained motivation through varied training stimuli. You don't need to compete to benefit from training like a champion. For example, a non-competitive lifter could implement a 6-week hypertrophy block, 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps, followed by a 6-week strength block, 3 to 4 sets of 4 to 6 reps, and then a deload week. This systematic approach ensures continuous adaptation, prevents plateaus, and makes training more engaging and purposeful than simply doing the same routine indefinitely. By understanding and applying these principles, anyone can achieve more predictable and significant improvements in their strength, physique, and overall fitness. The powerlifter's training philosophy. Specificity. Training must closely mirror competition demands, focusing primarily on the 3 main lifts with appropriate variations. Progressive overload. Systematically increasing weight, volume, or intensity over time to force continued adaptation and strength gains. Recovery priority. Recognizing that strength gains occur during recovery, not training, making rest as important as the work itself. Technical mastery. Perfecting movement patterns through thousands of repetitions to maximize efficiency and minimize injury risk. Powerlifters approach their sport with scientific precision. Every training session has a purpose, every set and rep is calculated, and nothing is left to chance. They understand that strength development follows predictable patterns when the right variables are manipulated consistently over time. Sample powerlifting training schedule. Off-season phase. During the off-season, powerlifters focus on building a foundation of muscle mass and work capacity. This phase typically lasts 8 to 12 weeks and features higher training volumes with moderate to moderately heavy weights. The goal isn't to set personal records, but to create the physiological base that will support heavier loads in later training phases. A typical week might include 4 training days with focused work on each of the competition lifts, plus accessory movements. Monday could feature squats with 5 sets of 5 repetitions at approximately 75% of 1 rep max, followed by Romanian deadlifts for hamstring development, leg presses for additional quad volume, and core work. Wednesday might emphasize bench press with similar volume and intensity, supplemented by close grip bench press, dumbbell rows for back strength, and shoulder accessory work to maintain joint health. Friday returns to lower body with deadlifts, performed for 4 sets of 5 reps, followed by front squats to build quad strength and address any technical weaknesses in the competition squat. Saturday could include overhead pressing, additional upper back work, and arm training to build overall muscle mass. Between these sessions, lifters might incorporate light cardio or active recovery activities like swimming or walking to promote blood flow without compromising recovery. The volume in this phase can be substantial, often 50 to 70 total sets per week across all movements. However, the weights are manageable enough that lifters can maintain proper technique while accumulating significant training volume. This phase builds the muscle tissue and movement patterns that will be refined in subsequent training blocks. Sample powerlifting training schedule. Competition preparation. As competition approaches, typically in the final 8 to 12 weeks before an event, training shifts dramatically. This crucial phase is dedicated to peaking, where volume progressively decreases while intensity meticulously increases, and all movements become highly specific to competition standards. The overarching goal is not merely to maintain strength, but to express the maximum strength built during earlier training blocks, ensuring the lifter is at their physiological and psychological best on meet day. This involves a calculated reduction in fatigue to allow for optimal performance. A competition preparation week typically involves 3 or 4 high-quality training sessions, each strategically designed. For example, Monday might feature heavy squats, emphasizing doubles or triples in the range of 85 to 95% of the lifter's 1 rep max. The focus here is on perfect execution, reinforcing competition technique with heavier loads rather than accumulating volume. Following the main lift, accessory work is severely reduced, often to just 1 or 2 light hamstring exercises and core stabilization work performed with minimal sets and reps to avoid adding unnecessary fatigue. Technique refinement on these primary lifts becomes paramount. Every rep is analyzed to ensure efficiency and consistency under pressure. Wednesday typically focuses on the bench press with similar intensity and low repetitions, pushing loads into the 80 to 90% range. This session often includes targeted work for individual weak points identified in previous training phases, such as tricep strength or upper back stability, but again, with significantly lower volume. Exercise selection becomes extremely specific. Variations like pause bench press at competition pauses might be used, but other variations like incline or dumbbell bench are usually dropped. The aim is to groove the competition movement pattern perfectly. Friday is then devoted to deadlifts, where lifters work with high percentages of their max, typically for singles or doubles, performed with the exact competition grip and stance they will use on the platform. While some programs include a 4th day for additional pressing or very light accessory work, many lifters find that 3 highly intense, focused sessions provide adequate stimulus while allowing for sufficient recovery, which is prioritized above all else. This reduction in training days further aids in managing fatigue. The true art of peaking lies in the final 3 to 4 weeks before competition, which follow a specific tapering protocol. Approximately 3 weeks out, lifters might perform their heaviest working sets of the cycle, perhaps hitting a top single at 90 to 95% of their planned opener. 2 weeks out, the focus shifts to hitting their planned opener weights for a single rep, primarily to groove technique, build confidence, and ensure comfort with the chosen weight. The final week involves only very light technical work, such as warm-up weights for singles, or complete rest, allowing the body to fully recover and supercompensate for the previous training stress. The psychological aspects of this peaking phase are arguably as challenging as the physical. Lifters must trust their meticulous preparation and resist the powerful urge to test their maximums in training, which could lead to burnout or injury before the competition. Managing pre-meet anxiety and maintaining focus are critical. Visualizing successful lifts and adhering strictly to the taper plan helps solidify mental fortitude. Attempt selection and opener choices are crucial strategic decisions made during this phase, often with the guidance of a coach. Openers are typically chosen at weights that the lifter can confidently hit for 2 to 3 reps on any given day, ensuring a successful first lift and setting a positive tone for the rest of the meet. Subsequent attempts are carefully planned based on the opener's success and the lifter's performance on the day. During this period, accessory work is drastically reduced, often to just a few sets of very light movements that support recovery or address minor imbalances, moving away from hypertrophy or work capacity. Recovery prioritization becomes paramount. This includes ample sleep, diligent nutrition, stress management, and active recovery methods like light walks or stretching, all aimed at ensuring the lifter arrives at competition fresh, confident, and ready to perform rather than exhausted from excessive training volume in the final weeks. The powerlifter's nutritional approach. Caloric surplus for growth. During off-season hypertrophy phases, powerlifters typically consume 300 to 500 calories above maintenance to support muscle growth and recovery from high training volumes. Protein priority. Minimum intake of 0.8 to 1.0 grams per pound of body weight daily, distributed across 4 to 6 meals to optimize muscle protein synthesis. Strategic carbohydrates. Carbohydrate intake timed around training sessions, typically 1.5 to 2.0 grams per pound of body weight to fuel heavy lifting and replenish glycogen stores. Nutrition for powerlifters is surprisingly straightforward compared to some sports. The primary goal is providing enough energy to support training and recovery while managing body composition to compete in the most advantageous weight class. Many powerlifters don't obsess over meal timing or supplement protocols. They focus on consistent calorie and protein intake across the day. A sample daily menu during a building phase might include breakfast of 4 whole eggs with oatmeal and berries, providing approximately 600 calories. Mid-morning snack of Greek yogurt with granola and protein powder, adding another 400 calories. Lunch featuring 8 ounces of chicken breast, rice, and vegetables for 700 calories. Pre-workout meal of a banana with peanut butter and protein shake, providing quick energy. Post-workout meal, emphasizing both protein and carbohydrates like steak with sweet potato, and vegetables totaling 800 calories. And a final evening meal or snack to reach daily targets. This might total 4,000 to 5,000 calories depending on the athlete's size and training phase. As competition approaches and athletes need to make weight, calorie intake may be reduced, but protein remains high to preserve muscle mass. Some powerlifters also manipulate water and sodium intake in the final days before weigh-ins to shed water weight, though this requires experience and carries risks if done improperly. Strongman training, a different beast. While powerlifting emphasizes maximum strength in 3 specific movements, strongman training must prepare athletes for unpredictable challenges that test a far broader spectrum of physical capabilities. A competition might include 10 different events over 2 days, each testing strength in unique ways, often demanding muscular endurance, dynamic power, and technical proficiency under extreme fatigue. This demands a training approach that meticulously balances maximum absolute strength development with event-specific practice, explosive power development, and the robust cardiovascular and muscular endurance capacity needed to recover quickly between brutal efforts. Strongman athletes still perform fundamental strength movements like squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses, but these foundational lifts serve as the bedrock upon which event-specific abilities are built. For instance, the sheer strength cultivated through heavy barbell squats and deadlifts provides the raw horsepower for a yoke walk, carrying immense weight on the shoulders for distance, or a truck pull, requiring sustained leg and back drive. However, A strong man might be incredibly strong in the gym, but still struggle to lift a 350-pound Atlas stone if they haven't practiced the specific technique, full body explosiveness, and grip endurance required to hoist and load it. Similarly, a log press involves a dynamic, clean, and press motion that differs significantly from a strict barbell overhead press, demanding unique coordination, core stability, and upper body power. Events like farmers' carries are brutal tests of grip strength, trap endurance, and core stability, while tire flips require explosive hip and leg power combined with a coordinated full body drive. Unlike powerlifting's primarily a lactic energy system demands, many strongman events push into anaerobic and even aerobic zones, requiring significant cardiovascular conditioning and the ability to sustain high output efforts for extended periods or through multiple repetitions. The sheer variety and unpredictable nature of strongman training also demand exceptionally careful management of fatigue and a strategic approach to programming. Attempting to practice every possible event every week leads quickly to overtraining, central nervous system fatigue, and a high risk of injury. Successful strongman athletes, therefore, meticulously prioritize events based on their individual weaknesses, the specific known events for upcoming competitions and the phases of their training cycle. This often involves rotating their event focus, perhaps dedicating one training block to improving stone technique and another to enhancing yoke speed, ensuring all aspects of performance receive adequate attention without overtaxing their recovery capacity. Furthermore, significant attention is paid to auxiliary qualities such as grip strength, essential for farmers' carries, deadlifts, and stones. Core stability, critical for nearly every event under heavy, unbalanced loads, and overall conditioning to withstand the grueling demands of competition. This nuanced approach allows athletes to build a comprehensive athletic profile capable of handling strongman's unique and formidable challenges. Sample strongman training schedule, general preparation phase. During the general preparation phase, typically 12 to 16 weeks from competition, strongman athletes build their foundation of strength, power, and work capacity. Training frequency is usually 4 to 5 sessions per week, with some athletes splitting sessions into morning strength work and afternoon event practice to manage fatigue. Monday might begin with heavy squats or deadlifts using powerlifting style programming, working up to heavy sets of 3 to 5 repetitions to build absolute strength. This is followed by pressing practice, often with overhead log or axle bar to develop the specific stability required for strongman implements. The session concludes with farmers' carries or yoke walks to build core strength and grip endurance under load. Wednesday could focus on pressing as the main movement using a variety of implements: log press, axle press, or dumbbell press for heavy sets, followed by deadlift variations like deficit deadlifts or deadlifts from blocks to address specific weaknesses. Athletes might finish with stone loading practice or sandbag carries. Friday returns to lower body emphasis with front squats or safety bar squats, followed by lighter overhead pressing for volume, and finishes with tire flips or sled dragging for conditioning. Saturday or Sunday might include a longer event session where athletes practice multiple implements in sequence, simulating the demands of competition day. This could include a medley of carries, loading events, and grip intensive activities. These sessions are less about maximum loads and more about developing the mental and physical stamina to perform when fatigued. Throughout this phase, the weights are heavy but not maximal, and volume is substantial to build muscle and movement capacity. Sample strongman training schedule. Competition preparation. 8 weeks out, building specificity. This period marks a critical transition from general strength building to competition-specific readiness. Training intensity remains high on main lifts, squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, often working up to heavy sets of 1 to 3 repetitions to maintain maximal strength. However, overall training volume, particularly for accessory exercises, begins a gradual reduction, e.g. 10 to 15% decrease from the general preparation phase, to allow for greater recovery and focus on events. Event practice, initially introduced weekly, now becomes highly specific. Athletes dedicate 1 to 2 sessions per week to practicing the known competition events, simulating competition conditions as closely as possible, including implement setup and specific loading patterns. For example, if a log clean and press is announced, this phase involves regular practice with a competition style log, focusing on technique and maximal single efforts rather than just general overhead pressing. If specific weights for events are known, athletes will start working with loads near or slightly above these targets. This is also the time to begin considering equipment needs, ensuring sleeves, belts, tacky, and shoes are competition ready. Mentally, athletes begin visualizing successful lifts and runs. 4 weeks out, refinement and taper initiation. As competition day approaches, the focus sharpens further. Training volume undergoes a more significant reduction, e.g., 20 to 30% below the general phase, while intensity on competition lifts and events is maintained or even slightly increased for single maximal efforts. This allows the body to recover while keeping the nervous system primed. Event practice intensifies in specificity. Athletes will perform mini medleys or sequences of 2 or 3 events, mimicking the demands of a competition day to build stamina and mental fortitude under pressure. For example, practicing a heavy yoke walk immediately followed by a farmer's carry. This also serves as a crucial period for testing attempt weights and strategizing competition day pacing. Recovery becomes paramount with increased emphasis on sleep, active recovery, light cardio, stretching, and soft tissue work, massage, foam rolling. Nutrition adjustments may include increasing carbohydrate intake slightly around intense event sessions to fuel performance and aid recovery. Athletes also begin to finalize travel logistics and accommodation, ensuring minimal stress closer to the event. For events that are unknown or announced last minute, training will focus on general strength and power movements that underpin common strongman challenges, e.g., heavy static holds for grip or strong overhead movements that can translate to various pressing events. 2 weeks out, peak and taper. This is the deep end of the taper. Training volume is drastically reduced, e.g., 50 to 70% reduction, to shed accumulated fatigue and allow the body to supercompensate. Intensity, however, remains present through very light, opener weights on key lifts and events. A typical session might involve 1 or 2 light sets of a competition lift, focusing purely on perfect technique and speed, rather than max effort. Event practice is minimal, perhaps 1 short session early in the week, performing a single run through of a crucial event at an easy weight. All supplementary work is almost entirely removed. Recovery is the absolute priority. Sleep quality and quantity are maximized, 8 to 10 hours per night, and stress management techniques like meditation or light stretching are employed to manage pre-competition anxiety. Hydration is key. And nutrition shifts towards maintaining energy levels and ensuring glycogen stores are full. This means a consistent intake of nutrient-dense foods with a slight increase in carbohydrates and adequate protein. Athletes will also confirm final equipment checks and pack everything needed, making a detailed checklist to avoid last-minute issues. Psychological readiness becomes crucial, with athletes focusing on positive self-talk, reviewing event strategies, and trusting their training. Competition week. Execute and conquer. The final week is all about preservation and mental preparation. Physical training is minimal to non-existent, often involving only very light technical work early in the week, e.g. a few empty bar warm-up sets, or complete rest. The goal is to arrive at the competition fully recovered, fresh, and primed to perform. Athletes meticulously visualize each event, rehearsing their approach, execution, and transitions in their minds. This mental rehearsal helps to solidify competition day strategy, including attempt weight selection for maximal lifts and pacing for timed events. Equipment is double-checked and specific nutrition protocols for competition day, e.g. pre-event meals, intra-event hydration, chalk, fuel, are finalized. Travel to the competition location is completed early enough to allow for settling in and adjusting to any time changes. Managing pre-competition anxiety involves sticking to routines, positive affirmations, and leaning on support systems. The focus is entirely on execution, trusting the extensive training, staying present in the moment, and expressing the strength and skill built over months of preparation. This is not the time to second guess or try new things. It's about confidently showcasing the athlete's best performance. The final weeks before a strongman competition require careful balancing. Athletes must maintain their feel for events while allowing full recovery from accumulated training fatigue. Attempting to make gains in the final month is counterproductive. This period is about expressing existing strength, not building new abilities. A well executed taper and strategic mental preparation are as crucial as the physical training itself for achieving peak performance on game day. The strongman's nutritional strategy. Strongman competitors face unique nutritional demands. Unlike powerlifters, who compete in weight classes and often carefully manage body weight, many strongman competitors prioritize maximum strength over aesthetics or weight limits. In open weight categories, athletes may intentionally gain substantial body mass to support their training and maximize strength potential. Caloric intake for heavyweight strongman competitors can be staggering, often 6,000 to 10,000 calories daily during heavy training phases. This massive intake is necessary to support both the enormous energy expenditure of training and the recovery demands of multiple weekly sessions. However, lighter weight class competitors must balance strength development with weight management, requiring more careful nutritional planning. A typical day for a heavyweight strongman might include breakfast of 6 eggs, 6 slices of bacon, hash browns, and toast with juice, providing approximately 1,200 calories. Mid-morning meal of a large protein smoothie with oats, banana, peanut butter, and protein powder, adding 800 calories. Lunch consisting of 12 ounces of ground beef, rice, beans, and vegetables, totaling 1,200 calories. Pre-training meal of chicken and rice, providing another 800 calories. Post-training shake with fast-digesting carbohydrates and protein for 600 calories. Dinner featuring steak, potatoes, and vegetables for 1,200 calories, and an evening snack like cottage cheese with fruit adding final 400 calories. Hydration is equally critical. The combination of high food intake, intense training, and often hot competition conditions means strongman athletes must consciously maintain fluid intake throughout the day, often consuming a gallon or more of water daily plus additional electrolyte beverages around training. Recovery protocols for strength athletes. Sleep optimization. Elite strength athletes prioritize 8 to 10 hours of quality sleep nightly. Sleep is when the body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissue, and consolidates the neural adaptations that improve technique and strength expression. Active recovery. Light activity on rest days promotes blood flow without creating additional fatigue. Walking, swimming, yoga, or light cycling helps clear metabolic waste products and maintains mobility without compromising strength gains. Soft tissue work. Regular massage, foam rolling, or other myofascial release techniques help maintain tissue quality, reduce muscle tension, and identify potential problem areas before they become injuries requiring extended time away from training. The strongest athletes in the world understand that training is merely the stimulus for adaptation. Actual strength gains occur during recovery periods. Without adequate recovery, even the best programming produces minimal results. Many experienced lifters discover that their progress accelerates when they pay as much attention to recovery as they do to their training sessions. Injury prevention and management. The pursuit of maximum strength inherently carries injury risk. Heavy loads place enormous stress on muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints. However, smart athletes distinguish between productive training discomfort and potentially harmful pain. Learning this distinction takes time and body awareness, but it's essential for longevity in strength sports. Successful strength athletes implement several strategies to minimize injury risk. They perform thorough warm-ups that gradually prepare tissues for heavy loading, often spending 15 to 20 minutes on mobility work, light cardio, and progressively heavier warm-up sets before they're working weights. They maintain strict technique even as fatigue accumulates, knowing that form breakdown under heavy loads creates injury opportunities. They respect program deload weeks rather than seeing them as wasted training time. When minor injuries do occur, and they will, Experienced lifters modify training rather than stopping completely. A shoulder issue might mean temporarily reducing bench press frequency while emphasizing leg training. A minor back tweak could lead to front squats, replacing back squats while the issue resolves. The key is maintaining training momentum and fitness while allowing specific tissues time to heal. Athletes also invest in preventive care, including regular work with sports medicine professionals, physical therapists, or chiropractors who understand the demands of strength training. These professionals can identify and address movement dysfunctions or imbalances before they cause significant problems. Many elite lifters maintain standing appointments for soft tissue work, viewing it as essential maintenance rather than luxury treatment. Mental preparation and competition psychology. Physical preparation alone doesn't create championship performances. The mental aspect of strength sports is equally crucial, particularly during competition when athletes must perform under pressure, often after minimal sleep and in unfamiliar environments. The strongest athletes develop mental skills as deliberately as they build physical strength. Visualization is a cornerstone of mental preparation. In the weeks before competition, athletes repeatedly imagine perfect lift execution, the feel of the bar, the crowd noise, the commands from judges, and the sensation of completing successful attempts. This mental rehearsal creates neural patterns that support actual performance, making competition movements feel familiar even in high-pressure situations. Many lifters visualize not only success, but also how they'll respond to challenges like missed attempts or unexpected events. Arousal management, the ability to increase or decrease emotional intensity as needed, separates good competitors from great ones. Before a maximum deadlift, an athlete might need to generate significant arousal to recruit maximum muscle fibers. However, excessive arousal can disrupt the technical precision required for successful lifts. Athletes learn personal cues that help them reach optimal arousal levels. Some use music, others employ specific breathing patterns or movement rituals. Competition day routines provide structure and control in chaotic environments. Successful athletes know exactly when they'll eat, how they'll warm up, and what cues they'll use for each attempt. This structure reduces cognitive load, allowing athletes to focus energy on performance rather than decision making. When unexpected situations arise, late running schedules, equipment issues, or other competitors' performances, athletes with strong routines adapt more easily because their core preparation process remains stable. Applying strength sport principles to general training. Progressive overload. You don't need to compete to benefit from systematically increasing training demands. Track your workouts and ensure you're adding weight, reps, or sets over time. Progress may be slower than competitive athletes, but the principle remains the same. Your body needs increasing challenge to continue adapting. Planned recovery. Schedule to load weeks every 4 to 6 weeks where you reduce volume or intensity by 30 to 50%. Many recreational lifters train too hard too consistently, never allowing full adaptation. Strategic recovery accelerates long-term progress. Movement quality. Prioritize technique over load, especially when learning new movements. Film your lifts, study proper mechanics, and build perfect movement patterns before adding significant weight. Good technique prevents injuries and allows heavier loads long term. Specificity of training. If you want to get stronger at specific movements, you must train those movements consistently. General fitness has its place, but specific adaptations require specific training. Choose 3 to 5 primary movements and progress them systematically. Sample training program for the aspiring strength athlete. For those inspired to incorporate strength sport principles into their training, here's a 4-day program suitable for intermediate lifters. This program balances the specificity of powerlifting with the variety of strongman training, creating a well-rounded approach to building strength and power. Day 1 focuses on lower body pushing. Back squats, working up to 3 sets of 5 repetitions at a challenging but manageable weight, followed by Bulgarian split squats for 3 sets of 8 per leg to address any imbalances, leg press for 2 sets of 15 repetitions to add volume without excess fatigue, and finishing with planks and dead bugs for core stability. The squat is your primary movement. Approach it fresh and focused. Day 2 emphasizes upper body pushing. Bench press for 4 sets of 6 repetitions. Incline dumbbell press for 3 sets of 10 to build additional chest and shoulder strength. Dips for 3 sets to near failure, and finishing with tricep work and light rear delt flies for shoulder health. If overhead pressing is important to your goals, you might substitute or add overhead press as a primary movement on this day. Day 3 returns to lower body with a pulling emphasis. Conventional or sumo deadlifts for 3 sets of 5, Romanian deadlifts for 3 sets of 8 to build hamstring strength and practice the hip hinge pattern, barbell rows for 4 sets of 8, and face pulls or band pull-aparts for shoulder health. Deadlifts are neurally demanding, so avoid training to complete failure. Day 4 provides variety with power and conditioning work. Power cleans or kettlebell swings for 5 sets of 3 explosive reps, overhead pressing for 4 sets of 6, farmer's carries for 3 heavy sets of 40 yards, sled pushes or prowler work for conditioning, and finishing with grip work like dead hangs or thick bar holds. This session builds attributes that transfer to real-world strength and athletic performance. Nutrition for the non-competitive strength trainee. You don't need to consume 5,000 calories daily to build impressive strength, but you do need to fuel your training adequately. Many people attempting to build strength while simultaneously losing significant fat discover that progress is frustratingly slow. While it's possible to gain strength in a calorie deficit, especially for beginners, optimal strength development requires adequate energy intake. A reasonable approach for someone training 4 days weekly might include 2,500 to 3,500 calories daily, adjusted based on body size, current body composition, and goals. Protein intake should remain relatively high, around 0.8 to 1.0 grams per pound of body weight, to support recovery and muscle growth. This might mean 160 to 200 grams daily for a 200-pound individual. Carbohydrate intake should support training intensity. On training days, consuming 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates ensures glycogen stores remain full, supporting performance in the gym and recovery afterward. Fat intake, while important for hormone production and overall health, can be moderate. Around 0.4 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight provides adequate essential fatty acids without excessive calories. Meal timing is less critical than meeting daily totals, but some strategic considerations help. Consuming protein and in carbohydrates within a few hours after training supports recovery. Having adequate protein at breakfast prevents muscle breakdown after overnight fasting, and spreading protein across 4 to 6 meals throughout the day optimizes muscle protein synthesis. However, if your schedule only allows 3 square meals, you'll still make progress if total intake is appropriate. Long-term strength development, the patient path. Year 1, foundation building. Master fundamental movement patterns with moderate loads. Focus on technique, consistency, and developing the habit of regular training. Strength gains come rapidly for beginners, but the priority is learning proper mechanics. Years 2 to 3, systematic progression. Implement structured programming with planned progression. Continue refining technique while gradually increasing loads. Address any movement limitations or imbalances that could limit future progress or cause injury. Years 4 to 5, intermediate development. Progress slows but continues steadily with intelligent programming. Experiment with different training methodologies to discover what works best for your body. Consider specializing in movements that align with your goals and natural leverages. Years 6 plus, advanced training. Strength gains become increasingly hard-won. Training must be highly specific and carefully programmed. Recovery, technique refinement, and injury prevention become even more critical as weights increase to advanced levels. Building exceptional strength is a years-long process, not a months-long project. The athletes lifting massive weights in competitions have often trained consistently for 5, 10, or even 20 years. Understanding this timeline helps maintain realistic expectations and prevents the frustration that comes from comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or end. Common mistakes to avoid. Training too heavy too often. Attempting to lift maximum weights. Every session leads to accumulated fatigue, poor technique, and eventually injury or burnout. Even elite athletes spend most training time at submaximal loads, building volume and perfecting technique. Neglecting recovery. Viewing rest days as wasted opportunities rather than essential parts of the training process. More training isn't always better. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is sleep, eat well, and allow adaptation to occur. Ignoring technique. Sacrificing movement quality for heavier loads. Poor technique not only increases injury risk, but also limits the weight you can eventually handle, as inefficient movement patterns prevent maximal force expression. Lack of consistency. Training sporadically with high intensity rather than maintaining steady, moderate progression. Strength is built through accumulated work over months and years. Sporadic, intense efforts produce minimal lasting adaptation. Inadequate nutrition. Attempting to build significant strength while drastically undereating. While body composition matters for health and performance, severe calorie restriction undermines recovery and limits strength development. Your strength journey begins. The methods used by powerlifters and strongman competitors aren't mysterious or inaccessible. They represent the systematic application of fundamental training principles: progressive overload, adequate recovery, technical mastery, and consistent effort over extended time periods. Whether you aspire to competition or simply want to become significantly stronger, these principles apply equally. Start where you are, with the resources available to you. You don't need specialized equipment or a coach, though both can certainly help to begin building impressive strength. What you need is a structured plan, the discipline to follow it consistently, and the patience to allow years of accumulated training to produce results. Study the movements, track your progress, prioritize recovery, and fuel your training adequately. Remember that the strongest athletes in the world once lifted the weights you're lifting now. They progressed through patient, persistent application of proven methods, learning from both successes and setbacks. The journey from your current strength to your potential is traveled one training session at a time, one progressive increment at a time. The path is long but remarkably straightforward for those willing to walk it. Thank you for joining us for episode 78 of the Peak Performance Podcast. Whether you implement the complete programs outlined here or simply apply individual principles to your current training, you now have the knowledge that separates recreational lifters from serious strength athletes. The question isn't whether these methods work. They've been proven effective by countless athletes. The question is whether you'll apply them consistently enough to discover your own strength potential. The journey begins with your next training session. V.